Hi, Jenny here. While I'm sitting here with all my EM stuff, there's a couple of questions that come up quite often, so I thought I should answer those. It's related to this recipe that I had on the last video, how to make EMA. Watch the last video if you're interested in learning how to do that. And these are the very, very basic recipes for these different volumes. And you could go on increasing that. It doesn't have to finish at 20 litres. You could make 100 litres or 500 litres or 1,000 litres. If you're a farmer or have a market garden, I'll hold this up in case you're trying to follow it. If you need big quantities, the solution that most people use in that situation is to take an IBC tank. You know this, it's International Bulk Container, I think it stands for. And you know these containers, you see them going around on the back of pickup trucks. They're really, really big, and they're like a big white plastic, like one of these, but 1,000 litres big. And they're in a metal cage, and the whole thing is integrated with a pallet. So it's a standard size, standard construction, and they're used all over the place. This is how people make EM activated solution in big scale. And the thing is that when you make it big scale, which I don't do personally, but I've seen people doing it, you need to manage the temperature very well, because depending on your climate of where you live, you maybe don't have that perfect margin between 20 and 30, and if you're doing those big volumes, you want to get more accurate, and then we're looking for something like 27 degrees, which is really nice. So what you do then is get a tank heater, submergible tank heater, and you put that, they have a top, an opening in the top, so you put the tank heater into this IBC tank, which you've filled with EM activated solution. You've filled in exactly the same way we did this, but you do it in a really big scale. And you put that heating element into the tank for the 7 days. Then you also probably need to manage the environment. Like if it's cold, you maybe need to insulate it, heat it from the outside in some way. Or if it's really hot, tropical climate, you need to put this out of direct sunlight in a cool room or under a sheltered shed with a breeze or something like that. So my main point with saying this is that you can make as little or as much as you want, and there are so many uses for EM when it's activated. We mainly talk about gardening here, but if you're farming, you want to improve the fertility of your soil, it's the way to go, is just to get big volumes of EM out onto the fields and into the soil in combination with organic material, because that's what will recreate fertility and restore the land. So the important thing to think of is that the volume you make is completely up to you. The recipe stays exactly the same whether we're making a small amount or a big amount. It's always 95-5, 90%, 5%, 5%. The water is important. You need good water, clean water, a clean container. It's hygienic. We can't get lab conditions, but it should be hygienic. If you have water like city water that's got chlorine in it, fill your containers in advance, like a day or two in advance, so that they can breathe and the chlorine gases can escape as much as possible. Do whatever you can to get clean water. Filter away sediments, because we don't want different bacteria competing with what we're trying to do. So you need clean water, and you need airtight. This is fermentation, it has to be airtight. And you need a controlled temperature, which is basically 27 degrees if you're in a big scale, or if you're just doing it at home, somewhere between 20 and 30 will always work. And not colder than that, because then the microbes just won't do their work. Not hotter than that, or the microbes actually may be at risk of dying out because it's too hot for them. So I'll just show this one more time. 95-5, 90% water, 5% EM1, and 5% molasses. And remember, here we're always talking about actual original EM1, which is coming from EMRO, because that is what the research is supporting. We have no research that's supporting homemade rice water solutions and so on, so we're just not talking about those here. They may be fine, but that's another story. So 95-5, and you just work it out yourself depending on how much you need and how you're going to spray it. It's really, really worth it, so have a go.